Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. And well, just before we go on, you know those cats and dogs that the English keep on talking about? Well, they're falling. They actually are raining. Got something of a sense of what the cats and dogs mean. It's raining cats and dogs. Well, in our part of Lagos, Ekiti, might be different in your side, such is the nature of, what is it now, the weather, you know. But it's just raining buckets. Well, it has slowed down a bit, but in the aftermath, oh dear, I imagine all the Ikorodu Road, it's just going to be one big little lake. No, not one big lake. Never mind the second little. It's going to be one big lake. And so I imagine that until all these things drain off, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to move about. There's so many motorists that are going to be trapped in their cars, I imagine, very, very shortly. As soon as our people that have gone out can get back in, you'll be seeing the dramatic pictures, no doubt. But so what are we going to talk about today? Well, over the weekend, you know, after we had finished on Friday, the news you probably heard about the 2,000 Ekiti workers. Now, since we hear about shotgun weddings, maybe there are shotgun employments as well, because as you will recall, after the July 2018 election in Ekiti State, the outgoing governor then, just a few days before leaving, had actually done what would have seemed good to, you know, the workers. He'd employed 2,000 of them, okay, into the public service. Well, down the line, the new governor, incumbent governor, that the old governor knew was going to come and take over, reportedly has set up a committee to examine that employment, whether it followed the due processes and all of that. And I guess by the action that they have taken now, the Fayemi administration has taken, letting go of those 2,000 workers, because among other things, when you look at it technically, they never were employed since they didn't follow all the due processes. But to help us look at it this morning, and indeed yourself as well at home, we do dearly want to hear what you want to say about it, how you see this particular situation. Dr. Jide Johnson, Deputy Provost, NIJ. Thanks as always for coming on,
It's a
Jide.
Pleasure to be with you. Uncle Yori is raining lion and tiger.
Never mind cats and dogs,
It's even greater than cats and dogs. It's lion and tiger.
Really?
This morning in Lagos, and good morning to our people.
Indeed. You're not too far from us because you're at Ogba. Your institution is at Ogba.
Yeah.
So ordinarily, it would take you what? How long to get here? Maybe a leisurely 20, 30 minutes.
I seized the moment I sighted the weather, and I knew. So I left the office 8:30 a.m. for a program for 10:30 a.m. in the morning.
You gave
so
2 hours.
walking around nature, you know. This is Lagos.
So if you're watching us in Lagos, southwest of the country, where we're broadcasting from, for now, you just better be monitoring radio stations that will be letting you know how it goes. As for those of our friends in the UK and all over where they call us from, you know, South Africa and all those places, well, I'm sure, weather being what it is, you guys don't know what we're talking about. There won't be any rain. But, Jide, on to our topic of the day, 2,000 workers that were hurriedly employed. Maybe it was a shotgun kind of employment, but 2,000 of them were employed into the public service in Ekiti. And just before Governor Fayose left.
You see, sometimes you wonder how chief executive think in this part of the world, particularly when it comes to public administration, how governors do come about some decisions which they take. You are elected a governor for a 4-year term tenure. At the beginning of your tenure, you didn't employ people. At the twilight of your tenure, as your tenure is about expiring, you employ 2,000 people into the workforce of the state. What signal are you sending? What kind of leadership are you demonstrating to employ 2,000 workers at the twilight of your administration? And then when it comes to even employment, there are process and procedure which you must go through. The governor does not have the power to employ people. There's a process and procedure through which you employ people in the civil service. Now, if you don't follow the process and the procedure as laid down, all your actions are nullity. Before we even talk about the morality of employing them at at the tail end of your administration trying to...
Knowing full well that there's no money to pay them with.
Exactly. First, Ekiti State is a civil service state. Two, even if federal government should absorb 2,000 workers at the same time, you know what the effect it will have on the wage bill of the federal government, not to talk of state government. You see, what justification, what moral justification does a governor has to employ people more into the civil service, having not paid the salaries of the ones you have employed? It's like a man that has not taken care of his wife and children and is getting married to other wives, increasing his problem. So,
well, quite frankly, if one were to say it like it is, it's the nature of our kind of politics, democracy and politics.
No. It's not. You see, we are providing valid excuse for irresponsibility on the part of people that we have assigned leadership roles to.
Is it an excuse as much as a reason?
No, we are trying to, you see, on Yori, for example, let's zero into Ekiti State, then we move to other states. Now, shortly after Fauci emerged as the governor, after he was sworn in, he said he was going to do employment, he's going to employ people, and then they came up with this employment program in which 10,000 people were purchased the form at the tune of 1,000 naira. Nothing was out of it for 3 to 4 years, and then towards the tail end of your tenure, you employ 2,000. How do you employ 2,000? Through what means? Through what procedure? Were the position advertised? Was there a memo from the head of service to the governor that there are vacancies in government offices? Government, we are not operating prebendalism. You know, prebendalism is where everybody believes that he has a stake in the state. You don't run government based on sentiment. You don't run government based on emotions. If you do that, you are going to run the state aground. We are complaining that the states do not have the capacity to pay their workers. Now you are burdening the state with extra workload. Now, in civilized climate, the civil service is not as bogus and bloated. You don't overbloat the civil service. It will have effect on the money you spend on education. It will have effect on money you spend on infrastructure. It will have money you spend on healthcare, because if majority of the fund that come to the states goes on recurrent expenditure other than capital expenditure, you can't have a productive economy. And that's why most of our states are not self-sustaining. We employ people based on political sentiment, trying to score cheap political points. But we need decisive leadership. And I think what the governor of Ekiti State presently is doing is decisive leadership. It is not popular, but it is the right thing to do to make the state to stay aground, to make the state to stay afloat, not to allow the state to sink. Because otherwise, it could have ride on the wave of populism that will let the people stay in the civil service and the rest of it.
Which is what Labour has sort of asked for. Labour in Ekiti has asked, not so much asking, like appealing that could they be, allowed to remain in the system.
Uncle Yori,
so this is still sentiment.
You don't run government based on sentiment. You don't run your company based on until we bring corporate governance. And what corporate governance is, using private approach, how you run your private company, bringing it where you have accountability, where you have probity, where you have transparency, where you are prudent with the management of resources, into how we run government. You see, for example, you see the way the economy of America has rebounded. You might not like Trump, but you can't question his economic policies. Why? Trump took decisive decision in reducing regulations, in taking tough decisions. You know what? We are not going to trade with you, Mexico. I'm throwing away NAFTA, World Trade Organization. I'm imposing tariff on you. They were not popular, but he's working in the interest of the American society. So every governor should work in the interest of the state. The state is like, what is the percentage?
In whose interest was Fayose purportedly working?
Selfish, populist interest. Look, what is the population of the civil service in the state? No, what's the population of the civil service in the state?
That can take a 2,000
and then look at the money the state spends on recurrent expenditure, on salary and emoluments of civil servants. So it's a tough decision, and until we take those tough decisions, we have the problem of non-payment of salaries, we have overbloated civil service, and we have redundancy in the civil service, and we have red tapeism. I'm asking you, Yori, to take a trip to go to the state secretariats and the local government secretariats of states and local government in Nigeria. You will discover that we have duplication of roles, duplications of offices. You have a lot of people not doing anything, eating fat from the state.
Yeah.
And I think every state government should borrow a leaf from what the Ekiti state governor is doing in being decisive.
You know, I hear what you said earlier, but when I said it's the way we go about our politics, perhaps when I suggested that, I wonder how much different this is from those outgoing governors that again hurriedly begin to award contracts on the eve of your departure. And so there's the ethics of the issue. They are governors, so they think they can do what they will. But there's ethics, and as you pointed out, a governor can't really do what he wants.
They are not emperors. They are laid down process and procedure. You know that the governor cannot fire a civil servant. The president cannot fire a civil servant. They are laid down process and procedure. You know, when even people talk about employing, and that when governors are selecting their cabinet members and the president, they should use technocrat. The mistake we make is the real technocrats are the civil servants. They are the real professionals that have been in service for 20, 35 years. You know, before you become a permanent secretary, you must have spent nothing less than 20, 25 years in service, having experience on how the ministry is run. So you provide the technical know-how. That's where the technical know-how for the political leadership. Now, if you look at the civil service structure, there are process and procedure through which you employ, you discipline, you promote. If you don't follow that process, you can't wake up in one morning and say, as the chief executive governor, you are the head of the executive. Some of the things we also forget is this, that the fact that you are the chief executive, you are the governor, does not mean that you have direct control over employment. You go through your commissioner for labor, your commissioner for labor, then you go to the HOS. These are process and procedure. So you see, for example, the president in Nigeria cannot wake up and say, we are employing 10,000. Even when the recruitment of the police was to be done, yes, he came through the Police Service Commission. He didn't come through the IG. He came through the anything that does not go through the process and procedure, lay down guidelines, is a nullity.
You're right. Perfectly right, I am sure. But who is going to challenge it, since we do what we will locally and have been getting away with it? As you say, the president, it's not his business to employ civil servants. Nevertheless, the same thing with a governor. But nevertheless, when they go about those kind of things, you said, for instance, as an example, it seems logical enough, a governor can't do it. There's his commissioner, there's the appropriate commissioner there. But if both of them are hand in glove, uncle.
Yeah, well, that's what
if both of them are hand in glove, uncle. So we go back to the ethics of the thing that I'm talking about. That how respectable is this? How decent is this? How ethical is this? Because now you have those 2,000 workers, and look at the family attached to them. By the way, I don't think they've got paid so far.
Were they workers in the first instance?
There you go.
Because look, if you take this to the court, to the law courts, they have no economic rights. Why? Because the process and procedure through which they were employed did not go through the normal civil service process.
So we have a situation where these guys, these people are just victims. These people are not victims.
Can the courts declare the action of president a nullity? Can the courts declare the action of a governor a nullity? If you don't follow the fact that you are the governor or the chief executive does not give you overbearing. You know, some of the things that is wrong with our polity, to align with your third concern something, is that some of our chief executive operates like emperor, like his imperial majesty. So instead of calling them his excellency, we should call them his imperial majesty.
Or
so
something
we call them
like that.
him, his imperial majesty. But this is government, and in government, you have a cabinet. The cabinet is made up of the governor and his commissioners. the HOS, the head of civil service, and the secretary to the state government. Was that issue discussed at the state executive council meeting? One.
Yes.
Was a memo raised by the HOS that there are vacancies in the civil service and we need to employ, and the issue was brought to the state? It's because we have not gotten there. I will get there. Where actions of governors will be challenged in the law court for not following the laid down process until we test the constitutionality of the actions or inactions of our governors and president. We will not.
Unfortunately,
we will not have a vibrant democracy. We have to test it.
Yes.
And one of the ways to test this is to test the action, because the whole essence of the State Executive Council is not a tea party. It's meant to provide policy guideline. It's meant to provide legitimacy to the actions or inactions of governors. A governor cannot wake up. It's not Gulliver's Travel, where the king woke up today. He said, you know what, we are breaking the egg from the left side, from the lower part, and this following morning, he said, you know what, because the shell of the egg pierces my hand, we are going to start breaking the egg from the top. Government is not subject to the whims and caprices of the occupier of that office. And we want our governors to understand that they have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to the Constitution, is to the laid down principles and procedure that has to do with public governance. There are principles that govern public accounts. There are principles that govern public governance. There are principles that govern hiring and firing of civil servants. You can't just wake up and say, okay, you know what, I'm employed. So the governor can just wake up today and say, you know what, I'm promoting people into permanent secretary without following the laid down principles and procedure. No, Yori, we can't run this country.
We can't. But how independent is the system? Because whereas I'm coming along with all that you are saying, and then when you fall on experience, you see that all these caveats and these checks and balances that you are citing, look, I don't know how well they work, because you could also bring this back to the Constitution. There are those, take Mr. George Inekeja, for example. He said that in relation to our complaints about the Constitution, he doesn't have too many worries with the Constitution. It's implementing it even as it is. If we were to faithfully represent it, even as defective as it is, we'd be a lot further down the line than where we are now. So you bring this same reasoning to the situation that we have here. Well, unfortunately, governors, some might consider themselves to be emperors.
It's about failure of institution. Look at the labor. Look at the labor union, for example, appealing and pleading on behalf of the workers that were employed without due diligence, without going through the normal laid down civil service rule. Should labor have advocated for such? Should labor have advocated for such workers? That's institution. In actual sense, labor should insist on best practices. So if I or she should employ 2,000 as he was leaving office, so if I if he's leaving, he will employ 5,000. And then the trend will continue.
That's where I say that
you see,
not everybody is going to be the same way. And that's why I try to see if we could rub a bit of ethics into the conversation. There's an ethical way to go about things. Even if you can force your way, even if it is possible, technically possible to force your way, meaning that you've got everybody in cahoots.
Are you sure that the HOS did not advise the governor against it? Are you sure that the commissioner did not advise the governor against it? Are you sure that was the issue even taken to the State House?
Yeah, because even if all of that were to happen, this appointment was made days to his departure.
The governor used his executive power by the power conferred on me by Section I hereby. Until we test the Constitution. Look, Donald Trump passed an executive order. It was tested by the Constitution. It was taken to the courts. And the courts ruled that, Mr. President, this is the extent to which you have this power. This is the extent to which you have this power. When he wants to build his wall, the money didn't come from him. He got money from Ministry of Defense. It was the Ministry of Defense that provided money for him. The president could not, out of his own, go and take the money. These are the institutions that we need to be in place. So we need men of integrity in the civil service. We need men of integrity in the House of Assembly. We need men of integrity to be commissioners, to tell the governors that, Mr. Governor, what you are doing is not right, is not good for the interest of the state. And if you build on nothing, you have nothing. It's a nullity. There's a particular saying in my local dialect. If you build a house using your speed to build the house, it will collapse. It will surely collapse. So there is no way those people that were engaged, that were not engaged legally, that were not engaged following the laid down principles and procedure, there's no way the state government can retain them. Even the present one, the state cannot pay. You are not asking the state to have an additional body. If I were to be the governor, I will sack them. People will, look, tough decisions don't look good in the short run. Well, but in the long run,
but maybe I should just say here, which you also have seen, no doubt, that former Governor Fayose, reacting to this, had said that this is a testimony to the wickedness of some people.
It's about playing to the gallery. Who is wicked? Someone that employed people without following the laid down principle and procedure and did not pay them. Someone that did not pay the staff salary and he gave them stipend some days to the election, and when he was to pay them again, he deducted the money which he has given them for the election. Who is wicked? No, I'm asking it to you.
Yeah,
you know some of the actions that some of the actions. It was when we were old that we knew that some of the actions and decisions our parents took while we were growing up, that we term wickedness, were to be valuable, important lessons for us.
Even though they might have infringed on the rules of fundamental human rights.
Whatever you call it, parenting does not do.
There you go.
Parenting does not do.
Does not embrace fundamental human rights.
Parenting does not know that good parenting in Africa does not.
Exactly.
Does not know that. It is those disciplines. Even the Bible says, spare the rod and you spoil the child. So it's better for Fayemi to use the rod now and whip those people out of the system and employ those that the states are capable of. Don't forget also that there is the issue of the new minimum wage that has been signed into law.
No doubt Mr. Fayose knew all of this, is the point that I'm making.
It's about creating problems for who is coming to take over from you.
Now we're speaking plainly. Exactly.
It's not fair. It's sheer wickedness. That's why I said, who is wicked? It's sheer wickedness. How, Uncle Yori, you are leaving that seat for me to sit on that seat. And as you want to leave that seat, you remove one of the leg of the seat.
Yes.
And you ask me to come and sit. That's what we do. Why would the governor want to leave office? He will award new contract. He will employ new people.
Thank you, Jide. This is where I just went for the quote-unquote jugular of ethical conduct. Because you've got to have a certain level of person to come into public office, since he's not coming in there on his own behalf. So the ethical reasoning that you traveled to arrive at a situation that I can put 2,000 workers that need to be paid into this system. Don't worry, that's not my problem. How they will be paid is not my problem.
Which offices were those 2,000 workers fixed in?
Well, there were teachers among them. Establishment people were among them.
Was the vacancy made public? It's civil service. Was it advertised in the newspaper?
So,
you see, we've seen professors that have lost their professorial appointment because the external examiner that should be around to examine their paper was not around. There are process and procedure of employing people, of promoting people,
and when you
of hiring people. So if you miss a step, if you miss a step, look, Uncle Yori, in 2000,
who is going to be monitoring? Who is going to be monitoring all these things that you are saying?
It's the civil service. It's the civil service. That's why you have the chairman of the Civil Service Commission. That's why you have the HOS to advise the governor. And I'm telling every HOS that is watching this program,
these guys are hardly ever at odds.
Listen, Uncle Yori.
They're hardly ever at odds. These officers that you are mentioning are hardly ever at odds with their governors.
Are we saying that our governors don't have listening ears? Are we saying that they don't reason? Don't let us assume that. Some of the time, some of our people are too cowardly to give the necessary advice.
Okay.
I think that, Uncle Yori, if, for example, the cameraman tells you that you need to shift this way, or from the control of the tape, and you need to shift that way, you listen to them, even probably by rank, by order, they are younger than you, but you listen to them in order for you not to miss your step. There's a particular saying in our local dialect, the hand of a child does not reach the lintel of the house, and that of the elder does not enter the gorge. It talks about synergy, it talks about taking the wisdom of the younger generation and the experience of the elderly to run a nation.
Well,
so the governors cannot do it alone. That is why the constitution provided for a cabinet.
Look, we have governors, and I know I'm digressing here. We have governors who will insist on their son-in-laws coming up after them.
There are so many of them.
That's just for example. So I'm trying to understand. Anyway, I got to go on a break now. Let's go on a break. We'll come back because all these things you're saying, perfect. But who is monitoring all of those things? Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. We'll include your calls as well. Okay, welcome back. Got Dr. Jide Johnson in the house, Deputy Provost, NIJ, and he's been joined this second half of the program by Mr. Segun Dipe. Mr. Dipe is the SSA Senior Special Assistant to Ekiti State Governor on Public Communications. So it's great to have you. But just before we go on, you've been almost within eyesight of the station for over an hour, right? So that's one of the reasons why you didn't start with us from the beginning. Tell us a bit about how you enjoyed yourself.
The rain poured mercilessly, and in fact, my car has broken down. I just abandoned it.
You just abandoned it in the water there.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
That would be. That's an afterthought. Now I'll go back there.
Yeah, as we were saying, these cats and dogs that the English people keep on talking about.
It's lion and tiger.
You didn't answer it. It's actually more than cats and dogs.
This is rhinoceros. It's a rhino.
Anyway, welcome, Segun. Great to have you.
Very much.
So, well, we're talking about the hurriedly employed, 2,000 hurriedly employed Ekiti workers that were employed just days before, former Governor Fayose left, and that the incumbent Governor Fayemi has, said that I've heard the argument, I've heard the line that they weren't, strictly speaking, employees because, they didn't follow all the processes. What's the official point on this whole matter? There's one way to see that, you can't put 200 people on the labor market. How about all those families? Weren't you guys able to temper justice with mercy and all of that?
Thank you very much, viewers at home. Let me first correct the impression that there was any employment. It was more of a scam. And we know the theatrics of the actor for who he is. Is what I call it farce. In theater, as they call it, pantomime. You just try to display some things and fly it and fling it to people to look like something. You resumed in 2014 and you are rushing an employment in 2018 after you've lost the election, and you are talking about 2,000 people. Let me tell you what the process is. Because without process, there's no action, there's no result. It is the process that determines the goodness or badness of any action. You need minimum of 3 months to be able to start from asking people to apply, interview them, write exams, interview them, shortlist, and put them in various departments or structures. This one took less than 45 days. How do you want to cramp everything into that small slot? How do you want to rush it? These people are not in the civil service structure. Their names are not present there. Their names are not present in the payment system. And you are just giving handout. If he has the names in the civil service structure, he can tell us to provide it and tell us which departments they applied for. For you to apply to TVC, you must know the department that you are being interviewed for, the department you are coming into.
Well, purportedly, there are some teachers in there, there were some establishment workers in there in terms of knowing where people are going.
May I just give you this insight?
Sure.
The people who were interviewed as teachers were different from the people who were employed as teachers.
I see.
Can you see the scam?
I see.
Can you see the fraud? Can you see the farce? Can you see the shenanigans? So it was just a game. Just, okay, you are filling a form and they're asking you for your PVC, for your voting unit. They're asking you to provide your what has that got to do with your qualification?
Did all of that happen? You guys have evidence to that effect?
Yes, of course. The form is all over. It is in the form right there. And you know what? When he wanted to give them the employment forms, he invited them from their various villages and towns to come to the center of Ekiti, capital of Ekiti. That is, we call the place Fajuyi, under the bridge that he constructed. And he started releasing forms to them one by himself. What a game. That's why I said it's pantomime. He's acting. He was just acting. And he's now trying to make it look real. Let me give you an instance. I get into your house, I jump in through the window, and I sat down. I said, Uncle Yori, you know what? I am in already. Just make me a member of the household.
Can you just accommodate me?
Can you just accommodate me? Oh, yes. So the Ojuro Danu is the best step that the governor is taking now. That, look, you guys, come and normalize your employment. Come and make it real. If you want to have a career in civil service, enter through the main door. The straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Enter through the main door and grow your career, become PAMSEC. Don't just jump in and you get to a stage and they start asking you for your employment. How was your employment? How did it go? Which department? If you are going into admin, then you must have applied and they must have interviewed go through the structure of admin.
Yeah, but how? Let me stay with you for a bit because you came on late. But now that you're here, Segun, how did it happen? Because when Jide and I were speaking, it came out, as everybody in Nigeria knows, that the civil service, you don't just, one man can't employ into the civil service. There's a whole procedure. And certainly the governor, he's even cited that even the president would be, at odds trying to single-handedly employ anybody. My thinking was, how did it happen? There's the head of service in there, there are permanent secretaries, there are commissioners, all of which must be in alignment for a governor's wish, if that is his wish, to put 2,000 people on board. There must be so many people in alignment. That is my own non-civil service servant way of looking at it. Or now that you're a bit closer to the whole structure, how does it work? How was everybody able to just, bend over for the will of one man to take on 2,000 workers?
Of course, it never happened. There was no employment. Just like I was saying,
okay.
The civil service structure is there. They are not there present in the civil service structure. The payment structure is there. Have they been paid through the structure?
No.
They've never been paid.
I've read reports that say we've not been paid yet.
So that means
but they began to calculate that government is owing me so much.
Well,
and I'm managing myself. I know the government will pay when they can see it.
Well, maybe Uncle Yori Folarin is owing me for always coming to stay near your office as your PA. I come to your office as your PA. I come every day to say hello to you and help you to serve tea. And I'm never recruited as your PA. And I'm trying to justify my effort or my getting close to that office to mean that I'm already there. They are not in the civil service structure. If you are not in the civil service structure, you cannot be captured. If you are not captured, you cannot be in the payment system. So how can you now say you are in the employ of a place that never had you in its list? Now you want to grow through the rank of an employment that you were not given properly. Somebody just issued a letter using his discretion to give you a letter, just send teachers, go and be teaching in schools, and you are giving them handout. And at a point for 9 months, refuse to pay them. They are not paid. The man has refused to pay. Like I said, with the former administration in Ekiti, everything is possible and anything is possible. So we cannot take anything past somebody who doesn't know anything about what we call good governance. If you know the governor that we have here is recognized globally as somebody who embraces good governance. He knows about good governance. He knows what the future holds for each and every one of these people. And he will not allow them, more out of sympathy, to run that wrong road. It's like going Afghanistan. You have to go to UK and you take the Afghanistan route. They are running the wrong road, and you want, a good governor will not allow them. Otherwise, you just wait for them to a point and you say, okay, you are talking of promotion. It's like in university. So you never got your admission.
You don't feel, when I say you, I'm talking about the administration, doesn't feel any particular responsibility for these guys who actually, you just explained, were never employed.
Were never employed.
By us. Okay, Adisa in Minna. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, please, I want to appeal to management of TVC. They should please extend this program to 1.5 hours. Please.
Okay, we will let the management know of this particular idea. Thank you.
Secondly, about the farce issue.
Yes.
Everybody knows farce is a comedian. So I don't have much to say. How can you employ 2,000 people close to the end of your regime? It's not done anywhere. You are not paying civil servants. I have people in Ekiti State that up to 6 months you didn't pay them. You are giving them 3,000 a day to the election, and you are still employing 2,000 people. It's not done anywhere. So FIME should just cancel the appointment and do something about it if you can employ them in the normal process. Thank you. God bless you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a bit difficult because here is somebody from the administration saying there was no employment. But how can you sack nothing?
No,
how can you sack nothing? Because, you know, we're talking about Governor Fayemi, you know, sacking 2,000 words.
I love the illustration which you use, which I'll start my comments on. No matter how many years you spend in university, even if you are at the point of graduation, if your admission is faulty, you will not be graduated. We've seen many cases like that. Every one of us have experienced that. The governor cannot employ people. In actual sense, you're under the employment of a commission. Is either the Civil Service Commission or the Teaching Service Commission. And then you go to the commission to get your posting. You see, there are so many laid down process and procedure that you can go, that you have to go through before you are regarded as a civil servant. You know, what Governor Fayemi is trying to do for this is to save them their nightmare. Yeah. Is to help them solve a problem that will give them heartache in the future. Yes. Because in terms of their career progression, they
are unknown to government.
Yeah,
they are unknown to Ekiti State governor.
By law.
From what you guys are explaining.
Ghost workers.
By the arrangement of the state civil service, by the arrangement of the structure, by law, they are non-existent.
So they become victims because, let's face it, they're victims.
How can you imagine the governor based on...
Okoroafo is waiting on the line. Mazi Okoroafo, good morning.
My brother from Arochukwu.
Indeed.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Okay, we can't hear. Maybe they could give us a bit more volume in the studio here. Carry on, sir.
Good morning, SSA, and good morning, the provost of Professor and the rest.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, you see, sometimes what we see on the tele or what we see in the real reaction, it looks like family and friends. Because some sets have turned to family and friends, which is not the best. The 2,000 workers, I would just sympathize with them. That let them go back. If the state government advertise, they follow the normal procedure. It's just like what we saw on the television last week, where projects were being commissioned on television. Commission 1. Commission 1. That is what we see in states. But the thing is this, we have to know that democracy is government of the people and for the people. And we follow everything sequentially. It will make sure that the incoming government will not have a problem. A situation where they are trying to do things abracadabra is not the best option because we are past that level where a governor turns the state. Like, look at what the governors are saying now, that the federal government should not dictate to them on how to use this participant. How can a governor, you have less than 2 weeks to go, you want to collect money, so do what?
Yes.
Let them go. The governor should go and allow the incoming government to use the money and do what and serve the state. Because by the time please, the federal government, whether they are listening, don't give this governor this money. If you give them the money, there is no prayer on earth that will make them bring. God bless us and God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi.
Perhaps I should give further insights. In 2014, thereabout, there was an employment before Governor Fayemi left. 262 thereabout. I can't recollect the figure. In the assembly, in the House of Assembly, some people were recruited. Immediately, ex-governor Fayose came, he sacked them. And quickly, he employed some, in that, I think 2015, employed some people into level 1 to 4, and paying more like pittance. He didn't put them in the civil service structure. And now he has employed some people. Now, what Governor Fayemi is saying, despite the fact that the people employed into the assembly in 2014 were rightfully employed and they've been asked to go, we are not going to absorb them like that. Let them also go through the normal process, so that future will not hang a sword on you, that no, you were brought in through the back door. These people have the potential to become perfect, to become directors. But if their employment is shaky, I mean, all these things will come to haunt them in future.
Indeed.
So what we are saying is that Governor Fayemi, who is known for good governance globally, that's an area he feels that he is known for, is more or less being sympathetic to the cause of these people, and is better now to nip it in the bud than allow it to grow or to fester.
Later.
Yes,
okay.
and it haunts them.
Yakub, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
And then good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Before I go, I hereby support the motion moved by the first caller that Yori, you should help us to appeal to the management to move this program to 1.5 hours. And then I believe all the fans of TM will love that. And that's on a joking matter. Yori, the question we need to ask ourselves is, why is this all this governor 2 months, 1 month to leave the office? They will say that I employ 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 naira. That is if they are not got their
Naira. Jakub, you're always doing this Naira matter. It's people, not Naira. 2,000 people, not 2,000 Naira.
I mean people. That's what I mean to say, sir. You see, Chief Johnny, when you employ 2,000 people, and then you know that you are not coming back to the governor's house, or your preferred candidate does not want that election, and then you employ 2,000 people, are you creating problem for incoming governor? The same thing is going on in Ogun State as well. You don't get your preferred candidate to win that election, particularly in Ogun State. And then I heard that the governor, the present governor now that's about to leave the office now, is promoting teacher. The teacher that you are not giving promotion for almost 8 years, you are not giving them promotion, sudden promotion. Why is that? Is that because either they don't get re-election or their preferred candidate does not want that election. And then in order to create problem, all the people should look into the incoming governor as a bad person. That is why they are employing all those 2,000 people, 3,000 people. It is uncalled for. As Aaron Chukwuman says, they should not give them the money now. They should withhold the money.
Okay, the Paris Club, of course. Yeah, thank you very much for calling in, Yakub. I don't know. That would be a disaster if they were to release this money to the
do what?
To do
exactly.
exactly.
At the twilight of the administration.
To do what? They will be looking forward to collecting this money. But I don't think it is this Buhari administration.
They should release it to Ekiti, where governance is stable now.
No, for us to have, it's for us to have uniformity of purpose. That government, the president will release this fund after his inauguration, May 29. Because from what we have seen, and these governors should have an understanding that you are leaving a legacy. Whatever good you do today, your children will come and be part and parcel of it. It's history. You know, everybody built a legacy. You see, we still talk about...
You take this thing very, very seriously.
Yeah,
because when you're talking about people thinking about their children and children's children, I mean, come on, Jide. People, our politicians don't think like that.
Think of elections, statement, think of legacy. See what happened to Mabashi in Sudan. In Sudan, the same prison where he kept his political prisoner. The people he kept in prison, he went there and he met them there. You see, Nigerian political class should not take the patience of Nigerians for granted. They should not take it. They should not take it for granted. It's just a matter of time. One day is for the thief. I think there's another day for the owner.
Because they know that there's nobody to speak for the oppressed.
No, it's just a matter of time.
And this is in the nature of a class action.
You see,
if these Ekiti people were to...
I saw a study I'll quickly wrap up that so that I saw a study that said it's only 3% of the population in a peaceful protest. It was an Harvard study that bring about change. June 12th issue, the democracy we are enjoying. people, you will have thought that military will rule Nigeria forever. But when the wave of Nadeko will start.
Okay, so there's what you're saying is that everything has an expiry date, as we say locally.
Yeah, we're almost getting to the expiry date of the present political class mishandling of...
I'll come to you, but Ade has been holding on in Abuja. Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning, sir. Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling. Good morning.
Uncle Jide, good morning.
Good morning. We only have one uncle.
You people have begun to speak Yoruba in English on this program.
Hello. I think Fayoje employed casual staff.
That's if he employed. The word employed doesn't even exist.
He employed casual staff because if we employ everybody through civil servants or
okay, but he sees it as these were just casual employees. But you are saying there was no employment exercise at all properly defined.
Yes, I want to pick on one word. You said they are victims.
Well,
sincerely, I'm also a victim of this. Okay. And I'll tell you why. They are my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
They are my cousins, nephews, and nieces. And their responsibilities we cannot ignore.
That's right.
Some of us have to bear it.
Yes.
And that to tell you the pain we go through. The joy is that now the normal thing is going to be done. The door of employment is going to be open, and we will appeal to them. We will encourage them to now come in this time and enjoy the process. And that's what I want my people to learn. That look, there was no employment.
Yeah, okay.
Talking of employment is trying to pancake the whole thing, to give legitimacy to an illegitimate act.
So maybe but we have to express it somehow. When newspapers are saying that 2,000 hurriedly employed workers were sacked.
Purportedly.
Purportedly employed workers were purportedly sacked.
They were not sacked. There was no sack letter. Okay, assuming, where's the sack letter? Can somebody be sacked without a sack letter?
So an announcement has been made.
There was no sack letter.
That just stop deluding yourselves, Abi.
Just cut short this puerile joy and know that you have not been properly engaged.
Abi in Johannesburg. Good morning, sir, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling.
And good morning to our guest in the studio.
Good morning.
You know, I'm from Ekiti State, and whatever that happened in Ekiti, I have information about it almost on a daily basis. It is quite unfortunate that I don't really blame Governor Fayoje alone. I also blame our constitution as well. Because we did an election 3 months after we now said the present governor should still be there for another 3 months for a new governor to come in. Obviously, there's going to be a mismanagement of funds and mismanagement of opportunities. Somebody who is in office, who has been in office for 8 years, who did not promote anybody, who did not recruit anybody. Now 2 weeks to his last term, now recruiting 2,000 people. We should all know that is a force. And it's because he wants to create foreign between incoming governor and the people of Ekiti State. But unfortunately for him, we as Ekiti people, we know the kind of plan he was playing when he was there as a governor. This is a man who does not give a damn about anybody. He does not give a damn about any national ruler. And all of a sudden, you have created 2,000 employments in 2 weeks for you to leave office. But please, I think the doctrine has said a lot of things this morning, but he's an outspoken person, and I want him to really do a lot of justice on this issue. That once the election took place in Nigeria, at least maximum of 30 days, the new government should come in, while the old government should vacate the seat.
Okay.
This will really help us to really monitor what's happening in the government in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir.
Indeed, thank you very much for calling in. Again, maybe I'm sounding like a cracked record. I want to go back to the ethics of our behavior, especially our political leaders. Look, the 3 months that he's talking about, it's because the Constitution or they just imagined a certain caliber of person, a certain quality of human being would be that would get to those kind of positions.
That was put in place to provide room for the military in transition, and we have carried it over. And experience has shown that after election and that an incumbent whether his party lost the election or is handing over, has shown that the way outgoing governor manages the resources of the state has left more to be questioned. Instead of, look, my wife is from Ekiti State. I have a stake in Ekiti too. They are my in-laws, my friends that are from Ekiti that will be affected by this purported sack. Now, everybody is calling for the civil service to be streamlined so that government can pay salaries as well as devote other resources to critical sector of the economy. Our civil service across the state is even overbloated. Instead of labor in helping the governors in solving the problem, labor also goes about compounding the problems for the governors. On this issue of Ekiti, I align with the governor's position. These people are not properly employed. If you are not properly admitted into tertiary institution, if you like spend 8 years in the university, you will not get the certificate. You might be even doing the exam. We've seen many like that in the past.
Okay, someone else on the line, Agu, I believe. Oh, I think that must be Agu that we lost from Plateau State. Sorry, you wanted to say something, but
yes,
I kept on.
Yes.
I was talking about the ethics of the issue and how people, you expect a certain level of behavior from such a high up person as a governor. But these kind of methodologies, you know you're on the way out. You know your state can't afford this. You nevertheless put all that political junk on your successor's, plate.
Unfortunately, I don't belong to those who believe that democracy or the constitution, the way it's structured, is wrong. I think it is the people that are finding themselves on some seats that are disappointing or that do not merit it. When we talk of ethics, ethics is for man. It is not for the law. The law is made for man. And man that is decent, that is ethically compliant, will simply conform, will simply see himself. If you are a leader, there are certain behaviors you cannot descend into.
So what happened?
But yes,
in this case?
No, that's why we talk about people having disappointed, or people playing to gallery, or people misbehaving.
Okay. There's a gentleman in the UK, Kunle in the UK. Good morning, Kunle.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Can
sir.
you hear me?
Good morning, sir. We can hear you. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Uncle, I love your program, and I love the gentleman in front of you. To be honest with you, let me speak Yoruba a bit. They say, Ojusunuku, Orosunuku, Ojusunuku, that's in war. My uncle, I'm getting worried. Nigeria has go. I don't know what's wrong with our government. Who are they? I don't know. Are they superhuman being like any other person? How can they be operating a state and see they are the best out of all? Ekiti, we saw Ekiti as a nemesis in those days when we were young. How did they look? Mr. Purpose, and my gentleman SSA, let us give our governors a tutorial. Let us call them all together. No, you people, you can't be leaving the office. Question of 2 months ago. Giving awarding contracts, employing people. Where they going to get the money to pay this all, for God's sake? We're fed up. We're fed up. Get something to do about the governor, please. Or your state, or Ogun State, or those states. Name it. It is enough is enough.
All right.
Enough is enough.
Thank you very much, Kunle, for calling in. But you see, when you said there was no such appointment, there's no such exercise, I think the producers have got hold of what is an appointment / application letter. There you go. You can see it in there.
Exactly.
So
you see where we have the PVC?
Yes.
Where we have the unit,
that arrow,
we have the word.
That arrow is pointing towards the PVC form.
Nobody will ask me for my PVC if I'm a qualified person and I'm applying into even TVC, Lagos meaning civil service, Ekiti civil service. You're asking me for my PVC to present it, and you are calling me on phone that I should come to Fajui to come and take my employment form.
Yori, that form.
It's
I mean, you have to
laughable.
go. That form, there's
It's
no civil
laughable.
service there.
There's no civil service,
Ekiti state government cannot employ.
Yeah.
It is Ekiti state civil
civil
service
service
commission.
that-
Commission that's supposed to do this.
On which account did they pay the 1,000 naira? Is it the TSA?
Okay, so
It's-
we've run out of time, but thank God that we were able to air this a bit. We needed to hear what exactly is going on. Yes. But you know, you've explained it. That technically speaking, there was no employment exercise. Consequently, there were no employees, subsequently,
nobody was
nobody was sacked.
Let
really.
them reapply when the governors
Let them
advertise.
apply, not reapply. Let them apply.
Thank you very much, Segun Dipe, SSA to Ekiti State Governor on Public Communication, and Dr. Jide Johnson.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Indeed, my pleasure. All
very much.
So thank you very much. That's
It's
our program,
wonderful.
for today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.